that members or associates of YSL have committed crimes in furtherance of the gang?
Yes, ma'am.
You were present when law enforcement officers stopped the vehicle in which you were present along with Jeffrey Williams, wherein hydrocodone, methamphetamines, and a firearm were recovered. These items did not belong to you.
Yes, ma'am.
And do you acknowledge the following statement? I recognize, accept, and deeply regret that my talent and music indirectly furthered YSL the gang to the detriment of my community. YSL as a gang must end. Is that your statement or acknowledgement?
Yes.
I might remember something. Can you do that?
Oh yeah. Big Mac fries. Coke.
Yeah.
Done. But we had a deal here.
Yeah, the deal is get the fuck out of here.
You're making a big mistake.
What's happening? What's good? What's going on? Part of my presence YouTube channel. Look, man, the veil has been lifted from these rappers, man. We all see it for who they are. We see exactly what they're about. They ain't about that money. They ain't about that life. They ain't about what they claim to be. They ain't about all that shit they say in the music. They're all bogus, fugazi, looking funny in the light. Don't fly straight, whatever terminology you want to use for these rappers, man. I think we all seen it right now. It ain't what they claim to be, and things are looking funny. Now, what I'm talking about specifically is about Gunna and the fact that he was locked up in a RICO case with Young Thug and the rest of the YSL. I guess you could call them a gang now officially, but because of their indictment, their RICO indictment from a state of Georgia, they were locked up for about maybe 3 months, six months, maybe 8 months, maybe about 10 months. I think it was 10 months now they've been locked up. But clearly the prosecutors were playing hardball. Didn't give no one bail, didn't give any bond, and all of them were stuck behind bars. And the reason why they did that, because they knew at some point in time someone was going to fold, and when someone folded, then they would get the evidence that they really need. Because trust me, if they had enough evidence, if they had an open and shut case, this would be going to trial. This would already be wrapped up and people would already get in football numbers, but that wasn't the case here. See, the funny thing about this is that there was a time when it was reported that the prosecutors asked the judge for an extension because they weren't either to get all of the evidence in place, or they're still looking for a few witnesses or suspects, and they asked for an extension and it was granted to them. But that's usually a sign that they're not fully prepared, or that they were doing this in order to shake people who are the weakest links and get them to roll over on the rest of their co-conspirators, so to speak. And what we've seen in the last 1 or 2 days is that the rapper by the name of Gunna has decided to fold, because he came out and the story came out that he pled guilty to the charges that they placed on him. And as a result of pleading guilty, I guess this is an Alford plea is what it was called. As a result of pleading guilty, he is able to come home on time served. Now the question became, well, what did he plead guilty to, and why is he getting off scot-free with time served, where everyone else is still behind bars, awaiting a court date, or waiting to see if they could get a bond? Well, it came out that he had to take a plea and admit to, or at least plead guilty to, racketeering charges and being involved in a criminal enterprise or a gang. And a lot of people were saying, well, did Gunna snitch? Did he not snitch? What's going on? Is this a 6ix9ine situation? And Gunna had to put out or at least his lawyer had to put out a statement saying that he did not tell, he did not snitch, he's not a witness. He pled guilty to his own crimes based on his own charges, and he will not be taking the stand, and he has no intentions to take the stand, and he is going to continue with his music endeavors and do whatever he needs to do, and he is now putting this behind him. Now, the funny thing about all of this is that while this was put out by, of course, the lawyer and the PR team, when people started digging into exactly what he pleaded guilty to, part of it was the video that I just played, which is his statements that he made as part of the plea. And the statements pretty much have to do with evidence in regards to Young Thug and illegal substances that were in the car that Young Thug was in when Gunna was with Young Thug. It was only just them two in the car, and they found narcotics, and I believe there was a firearm as well too. And he made a statement saying how the illegal substances and firearms were not his. And by him saying that, pretty much you're implying that if it's not me, then it must be the other occupant in the car, which is Young Thug. Now, on top of that, he also admitted to the fact that YSL is a criminal organization, a gang, and he was aware of criminal activities that took place by certain members, albeit it was not him, and he was not involved in any criminal activity. A lot of people on social media were trying to defend Gunna and saying that he didn't snitch, he didn't tell anyone, he mentioned no names, this, that, and the third. But when you come down to it, you have to understand that the prosecutors would not put this deal on the table unless they gained from it, right? Because here's the thing, you just pretty much gave this guy time served, but it was based on him making certain statements that were strategically put in there to the benefit of the prosecutor's case. Because what the statements that I just played for you establishes is that, number one, there is a criminal organization called YSL, that they are a gang, that they were involved in illegal activities, and the fact that in the car that Gunna and Young Thug occupied, Gunna said that the illegal substances and firearms were not his. So pretty much what you're establishing is that, or what you're inferring to is that if it's not you, then there's only one else in the car but Young Thug, so it must be Young Thug's. And if Young Thug is not going to come out and testify and say anything otherwise, and he's not going to take his own plea deal, then the burden now rests on him. I don't think much people realize that by establishing the fact that YSL is a criminal organization, a gang, pretty much what the prosecutors were able to do is establish the premise of their RICO case. Meaning that now that it's been confirmed that YSL is a gang, then the RICO law is even stronger, or the RICO case rather on them is stronger than ever before, because now if anyone tries to deny that there's a criminal organization, if anyone tries to claim that YSL is a record label that produces music, that promotes their artists, then that can easily be combated and shot down by Gunna's testimony or Gunna's statement. And if it comes to that, then guess what's going to happen? Gunna is going to have to take the stand. And not only is he going to confirm that YSL is a gang, but he's also going to start talking about the criminal activity that he witnessed while he was around them. Since it's not him, it's everybody else. So he's going to start pointing fingers if it comes to that. Now, in my opinion, what I think, because a lot of times these things don't go to trial, what's going to happen is that everyone's going to start taking pleas. And everyone's going to start taking pleas to the fact that, okay, well, they might not have all of the evidence, but they got me on something, and they're going to take a plea deal, which won't be as long as people think. It might be 10 years, 12 years. Some people might get more. It all depends. But what I think is that a lot of times these prosecutors in these cases, they don't have much to work with, and they really only rely on the people that they arrest to turn state's evidence, to give up information, to snitch on their co-defendants, and to save their own asses. And what they did, they made it unbearable by putting them in that situation where they would not get bond, they would miss Christmas, they would miss their family, they would not go with any communication to get a hold of people, and as a result, it's going to wear down people's conviction. It's going to wear down people's belief that they could ride this out and that things are going to change and that charges are going to be dropped, and eventually people are going to crack and fold. And usually the people that crack and fold are the people who either had the least to do with this, or gained the least from any of those activities, or had the least amount of charges, because those people are going to say, well, I ain't going to be locked up doing football numbers for you when I only did this little bitty, piece of criminal activity that probably wouldn't even get me a summons. And as a result, they're going to start getting resentful because no one else is speaking, and they get scared, they get nervous, and they don't want to be considered a lifer or get caught up doing football numbers, and they're going to start telling. And this is exactly what Gunna has did, in my opinion, right? So I think it's clear for people to realize now that the veil has been revealed and these rappers have been exposed for frauds. They're not who they say they are, and nor should we expect them to be. And I think it's pretty clear now what's happening is that the music business, the rap industry, is really just a ploy to present this persona of a gangster, a drug dealer, someone who is involved in criminal activity. They promote it on the airwaves, YouTube, social media, to get your sons, to get your daughters to be involved in criminal activity. So while that rapper who you see all over the place on social media looks like they're making money, looks like they're successful, even if they get arrested and they might get let go or they might do minimal numbers. But understand this, your son, your daughter, they won't have the same legal team. They won't have the same public opinion to support them and back them. And they won't have none of the notoriety where the prosecutors would think twice. And they're going to give your son or your daughter football numbers. And thousands of kids, young kids, impressionable kids who are looking up to these rappers are getting caught up in this game. So the question becomes, are these rappers going to change their tune? Are they going to change the content of their music, the message in their music? Are they going to start talking about the ills of their actions? Are they going to start talking about the consequences, the fact that what they do and what they promote in their music actually has a devastating effect, not only for their own families, but the families of the people who they've harmed, who they've killed, who they put in dire situations, people who they've sold drugs to and caused an addiction and broke up families. So there's so many things that come as a result of this type of messaging in the music, and I think it's time that people start changing their tune. But if you notice what's been happening, you have people like Tekashi 6ix9ine, who when he ratted and then when he came home, what did he do? He went right back into putting out BS music with the BS message and all types of gangsterisms in his music and his imagery. So he did not change his tune. So again, will Gunna change his tune? Probably not. He'll probably come out with the exact same thing, get the record labels to continue to push him and back him to promote and put out that type of lifestyle to get more people locked up behind bars, funding this whole justice system, right? And the last thing I want to say is this. A lot of people are saying, well, why would he take this plea deal? Why didn't he just stand firm and shut his mouth and not say nothing? These people don't know the law. These people act big bag and tough, but they don't know what's going on. These guys paid thousands, even millions of dollars for legal representation. They paid the top-notch lawyers. These guys aren't making these decisions. They are being advised to take these deals. They are being advised to take pleas. They are being advised not to go to trial, not to fight it because you're not going to win. Even if they were innocent, they're being told that. Right? And this is the difference between the lawyers that you see now representing these rappers and entertainers and Johnny Cochran, may his soul rest in peace, and what he was doing fighting for people like Snoop Dogg, like OJ, who took it to trial, who did not fold, who did not take a plea deal because they would get time served or they would get only 2 to 3 years and might have 5 years probation. No, because when you know that the evidence is lacking, when you know that it's not much that they have to work with, then you have to fight it. You have to stand on principle. And the one thing about it is that if you fight and you blow trial and you end up being convicted, you do have the option to appeal. Meanwhile, if you take a plea deal, it doesn't matter what happens afterwards. If they find out that all the evidence was fraudulent and how, you were coerced into this deal, it doesn't matter. Once you take a plea deal, you give up your right to file an appeal. In other words, it can never be overturned. You have to do the time that you agreed to in the plea deal. So that's what's messed up about taking pleas, right? So I think for everyone's sake, do not do the crime if you're not willing to do the time. And better yet, go get a job. Learn a trade. Develop a skill and make money the legal way, because all of these things that these rappers are doing is going to lead you astray. Do not get face tats. Do not do things that will put you in a position where you can only rap or become an inmate. Do not fall for the okie doke. Be safe. Do what you're supposed to do. Live a good, clean, and proper life, because guess what? There's more longevity to it. There's more prosperity to it. And you get a good night's sleep, man. And you can still get all of the girls that you think these rappers are getting. You can still get all of that. No, if you have your money right and you're making the money that you need to make and you're eligible bachelor and you could go on trips and you could travel, it doesn't matter if you're famous or not. You could get the type of woman that you're looking for if that's really what your focus is, right? So that's just how I want to end this, and you let me know how you think. You let me know if you agree or disagree. Put that in the comment section. But until next time, I think it's important that I say this: next move, best move. Part of my presence YouTube channel. Peace.